Hello again YouTube, and welcome to the final video from me commemorating the memory of Southampton Sega Park. This time we're going to talk about the final years of the arcade, 2008 through to 2013. I have to say I wasn't there that much at this particular time. There was other arcades I was visiting because they had the games in that I wanted to play there. What I will do just before I go into those years, I will discuss some other events I've just remembered but forgot to include in my last videos. Point Blank, great little light gun game there at Sega, but 98-99. There's one Irish guy who was working in a fishmonger at the time. Really enjoyed that game. I enjoyed having conversations with you, so if you're watching, do comment below. Nice to hear from you again. Flash Beats. That was a fantastic little original game there from Sega, sort of predating all the rhythm games by about a year. Basically it was a tabletop cabinet. You bash these lights backwards and forwards if you're playing two-player to each other. And if it was one player, you're bashing them in time to the music. Really, really good stuff. I'd like to have seen that staying a bit longer. I think if it was there at the same time as DDR was, it would have sort of captured that crowd as well and really complemented it. Shame it didn't, but there we go. I really want Sega to make a sequel on that, so if you're watching, do get cracking. And there was a DJ in early 2001 who used to come in regularly. I think he was promoting a sort of under-16s nightclub. I quite enjoyed the music. It was hard house and UK garage. Guess that's an acquired taste. I know a lot of the other players, especially the DDR players, didn't like it because his sound system was sort of drowning out their music, so I understand their frustration about that. There was a Malaysian player in about 2001-2002 that who challenged me on Marvel vs. Capcom 2. He absolutely wiped the floor with me and my friends. Usually, when I lose to people, I'm at least able to do a little bit of damage, but he basically destroyed us, you know, without breaking a sweat. So really, really high-level player there. There was a fight in late 2002 in Sega Park. I think it was over a pool table. Sort of bodies going backwards and forwards everywhere. A chain got involved. It was two fully grown men. Something you really expect to see off teenage gangs, not adults. But poor little guy playing the Mason machine. He was sort of trying to protect himself with a polystyrene sword as the bodies came over to him. And they ended up nearly knocking this poor guy off the crazy taxi cabinet as he was playing, but thankfully it all broken up before they killed each other. Never seen anything like that at Sega Park, and thankfully I never saw anything like that again. Time Crisis 2, played that a little bit after Time Crisis 3, but it was only there for about a month after Time Crisis 3 came, and then they got rid of it. I can understand why. Played at lots of other arcades as well, so I didn't really lose out in that respect. Mario Kart GP. I couldn't take that seriously because Namco removed the card system of a lot of the machines around the country. I think the only one that did have it that I know of was the Funland at Trocadero. They still had the card mechanism in. The one at Sega Park didn't, so I couldn't take it seriously. They didn't adjust the machine, so everything was available from the start like they should have done. Couldn't take it seriously, as I said. It cost you £5 or £6 to get to the good cards and the good tracks. And then after you finish your go, you have to pay another £5 or £6 to get to the same place where you are. So absolute rip-off, stupid decision, Namco. Not Sega Park's fault, but couldn't really take that seriously at all. And of course, the biggest omission that I forgot from my last video was Outrun 2 SDX. Now that was sort of a great big Outrun 2 SP attraction, sort of two-player setup. Sort of when one player you take turns on each stage, or if you hit a car, you then swap to the next player. Worked a bit like that. Couldn't take it seriously, but me and VR had a good laugh on that. Remember, we had that really good run. Yeah, all right for what it was. Shouldn't have really sort of left London, to be honest. It's really sort of an attraction piece. We did prefer SP because we could take that more seriously, but good laugh nevertheless. And okay. One other thing I will mention: Sonic Blast Man. I know that young guys always like punching things. That was there for a very, very long time as well, so I thought it'd be worth a mention. Not my thing at all. But test your strength things always do well in arcades, so I think it's just worth a little mention there. Okay, so what was I playing in 2008 to 2013? Well, not much, unfortunately. Ferrari F35 Challenge 2. That sort of came into Sega Park, was £1 to go. Couldn't really sort of get into it as it was an old game at a sort of a full priced. Nice game for what it was. I mean, there's Ferrari F35 Challenge there. F355 Challenge 2 in the arcade is basically the Dreamcast version. It's #1 with the extra courses. They had a competition on it, I think, sort of down at a go-kart track. I never entered, but I remember the floor being littered with all the printouts of people's results. Like someone had an accident in the toilet. Dear oh dear. R-Tunes sort of came in, sort of Sega's answer to Fast and Furious. Couldn't take that seriously at all. At least to Sega's credit, when they took the card system out of that, because it originally had one in Japan, they made everything available from the start, so nothing was cut off from us. You didn't have to spend stupid amounts of money to get to good cars. But I couldn't get into it at all. It was sort of certainly well, you know, a real big step down from Outrun 2, so had to sort of pass on that. Only a few plays given to that. Rambo, again, I played that at Sega, well, not at Sega Park first, it was in places like London and Basildon about 6 or 7 months before it arrived at Sega Park, so I'd already played it by then at those other arcades, and I didn't really like it that much. It was a bit derogatory, step down for things like Ghost Squad or even older games like Confidential Mission and Time Crisis Free, so had to pass on that one as well. They had a main machine in. That was alright, that got a few players into that. None of the old players came back though, except for one of my friends who got back into X-Men vs Street Fighter. The main version of that was running pretty well. I played a bit of Street Fighter 2, the old Knights of the Round classic from Capcom, a bit of Art of Fighting 3. Once the joystick broke, they didn't repair it, so we just lost interest and left it alone until they threw it out. So shame about that. I think there could have been a nice little scene on that, but there we go, I'm afraid. They don't repair things, we don't play them. Outrun 2 SP competition in 2009. There was only 3 entrants, 2 amateurs and myself, the sole professional. Of course I won, sort of great big gap of around about 10 or 15 seconds, probably even more. But I won an iPod Shuffle. It sort of came out of the stacker machine that they had there. I gave it to my friend. He bought it for me for £20. He tried to use that to start his eBay business up. Didn't really work out for him, but I got paid, so I can't complain. And of course Daytona USA that you can see there when the screen comes up. I know that's Daytona USA 2001 for the Dreamcast. The Xbox 360 version I was going to try and show you. My console side have the Red Ring of Death. I can't complain because I only bought the console for £6 and it was always terminal from the outset. So I have to show you Daytona 2001 just to show that I was playing Daytona USA at Sega Park. Unfortunately, those 2 cabinets that were remaining there at that time, they'd been there for a long time. They were really battered up. I had to stop playing them once they stopped working. At least it was 50p a go. I had no idea why, you know, in 2002, 2003, they changed the number of laps to 8 and sort of left it at £1 a go when it used to be at 16 laps. Always thought that was stupid, so I stopped playing it then. I restarted playing it when it was 50p, just because I like the arcade experience of the wheel and the gear stick and the pedals. But once they stopped working properly, I couldn't play it anymore. It left the arcade in 2011, but alright, yeah, good fun while it lasted. One thing I will mention, there was a guy on there who I never saw, but he did beat my beginner course times, not by a great deal, but he beat them all the same. I think his initials was LOZ. If you're watching this, please do comment below. I'd like to hear from you. Well done on beating my scores. You couldn't beat in my advanced times though, so you had to get that in. But well done on beating my beginner times. This is after I'd seen all the Marabaku stuff, so you know, top 2. Perhaps you're an expert Daytona player from the Far East. So nice to hear from you. So please do get in contact below. Sega Park did get 1 or 2 new things in, but it wasn't anything spectacular. It was things like Fast and Furious Superbikes, Guitar Heroes. I can't get into that. If I wanted that, I'd have bought that on console a long time ago. Dancing Stage Supernova, yes, great concept. Can't say I was into it. I know a lot of dance fans were there till the very end, so you know, big props to you. Well done for supporting Sega Park because you know you had something to play. It's a shame that I didn't. If they had games that I wanted to play, I would have been there till the very end, but they didn't, so I just couldn't, unfortunately. What I will mention is, I think it was sort of about 2008 when I knew that Wangan 3 wasn't going to come in, that I really started taking most of my business elsewhere. Wangan 3 came into places like Portsmouth and Eastleigh. I'll quickly just tell you, there were lots of other arcade games I was playing at the time, but none of them were in Sega Park. We had Sega Rally 3, Elevator Action in Trocadero in London, great sort of elevator door light gun game there. Gay Attack 4, sort of quirky light gun title similar to Point Blank. Grid. I think you all know that one, it's the console racing game. Afterburner Climax in Bournemouth and Portsmouth respectively. Dead Storm Pirates in Bournemouth. Razin Storm in Namco in London. Darius Chronicle, what a fantastic shooter that was. Great big sort of traction screen. Huge thing in Casino. I know that arcade's going to close soon, just heard the news on that one, but you know, great big machine. Love to have seen that in Sega Park, but wasn't to be, I'm afraid. Dead Heat Racing in Eastleigh. It was amazing the fact that a little town on the outskirts of a big city has a better arcade scene than we do. Well, not a better arcade scene, but a better arcade selection, I should say. Terminator Salvation. Hummer Extreme, did I mention that? That was a good one up in London as well. It was alright for what it was, nothing like Outrun, but you know, good for a laugh. Golden Gun, similar to House of the Dead, someone from Sega China, Let's Go Island, sequel to Let's Go Jungle, Operation Ghost, sequel to Ghost Squad, Sonic All-Stars Racer, Nirin, up in London as well, sort of motorbike game there from Namco, and Sega's own Manic Panic Ghosts. I mean, that would have been a great one for Sega Park, really quirky title with the sort of, you bash the ghosts out, sort of similar to Point Blank, but with this sort of little handle thing. Actually ended up in the Millbrook Super Bowl of all places in Southampton. It's probably the only remaining arcade we have left, but that would have been wonderful for Sega Park. So I will mention there was lots of other arcades coming out at the time, or just older machines around sort of the country, the southern area where I live that I was interested in playing. So I just had to go to other places. There just simply wasn't anything in Sega Park that interested me anymore. So that's why I spent very little to no time there. I know that Sega Park was sort of going towards more the gambling. That's where the investment was made. I guess that's where the big money is, or what money they could make was from the gambling. Because I know they're always sort of getting new gambling machines in there. If they didn't want to invest in video machines, I think they could have done better with the stuff they had there. Just sort of try new things out, like have a free play night they did back in the old days. £5 for 2 hours playing on everything. I certainly would have gone to that. I wouldn't have taken the game seriously, but it certainly would have got me in there. Classic or quirky games, things like Bishi Bashi Challenge, Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Street Fighter Alpha, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 or 2 again. Why not? Just get the old classics back, and at least you can have some regulars back in again, along with the dancing players, of course. Or, a sort of an entrance fee, and then everything's free to play when you come in. I know that Sega Park had sort of bad experience of that with their Trocadero site back in the day, but, just anything that's worth a try. Just give it. Should have just given things a try, experiment a bit more. I know if it's a top-down company, that's difficult to do, but I think they should at least sort of try to push it as much as they could. And of course, a bit of pinball. Pinball would have been a good fun. They had one pinball machine in at the end, but I think sort of a whole row of pinball. I think you could have got yourself some good customers there. But it's all academic now. Sega Park is now no more. I'll tell you sort of how it closed. The Bargate Centre complex that it was in. The owners of that particular complex, they were liquidated in late 2011, and Bargate Centre is one of their assets, so they're trying to sell it on to sort of pay off the debts. Sort of in January this year, all the tenants were ordered to leave. Sega Park was one of them. I popped in a couple of weeks ago to see that they were packing up, asked them if they were going, they said yes. Sort of saw them on the final day. I don't think they really wanted to speak to people because I think there were a lot of people were losing their jobs there. But I gave the manager some chocolates, thanked him very much for everything. And if you're out there watching now, thank you for staying there till the end. You did the best job after the manageress left. So you've been there for, I think, manager about 10 years. So good stuff. Hope it goes well at the Bournemouth site if you're going to be there. Good luck. Well done to the staff there, the manager, Robert, Sega Park, the twin girls, everyone else. So I'll give you a round of applause. Well done for all the things you've done over the years. Now, I won't miss Sega Park in the final stage of its life. Towards the end, it was looking really sad. The arcade was cut in half about 6 months ago. The fact that they were barely breaking even anyway, I think they took advantage of the situation with the Bargate Centre just to sort of wind up and shut up shop. If they'd have moved anywhere else, they'd have to pay a lot more rent, so I can understand the decision to sort of end it there and then. All the old machines have now gone to the Bournemouth site, where the original Sega Park opened nearly 20 years ago. That changed its name a long time ago, so this really is the end of the Sega Park dream that started all those years ago. I say nearly 20 years ago, that site in Bournemouth. Sadly, the model of business has never worked. Perhaps that's why Sega themselves sold off the Sega Park brand to another company all those years ago. We really wish it could be different, but sadly that's the reality. We've had some good times there though, particularly myself. I've written some game guides, I met some friends. It was a good place to hang out and sort of talk to people who shared a passionate interest in gaming in the way that I did. So let's just celebrate the memory of Sega Park in the good times that it was, not towards the final part of its life, but let's celebrate those glory days. All the other Sega Parks around the country have just sort of faded away with little to no tribute. I want to give this Sega Park a good send-off because it really is an end of an era. Now, the fact they kept the Sega Park name all these years gave me that tiny bit of hope that one day I would walk in there and I'd find 6 cabinets of Outrun Free. All of Team Havant would be on there. VR, Noob, Isamu, Eric, Model 3. And they'll be saying, come over RJ, come on and join in this game with us. They'd have Wangan 4, Initial D7, all the latest fighting machines, all those online cabinets from Japan. The staff would be in their old red uniforms again. The place would be buzzing like it was back in the day. They'd have that poor guy dressed in the Sonic the Hedgehog costume, sort of wandering around doing his dancing like he was when it first opened. Sadly, that wasn't to be, so it just remains for me to say, long live the legacy of Sega Park, long live the good times, we'll never forget. Thanks very much for watching, bye bye.